Deece has a new upload from yesterday that I haven't seen of the most annoying things in Classic WoW. I feel like I like a lot of the annoying things in Classic WoW. You know what I mean? I feel like I enjoy the friction. I feel like that's what like old school game devs did really well, is like some things just took a while. I'm curious what he's gonna say. What do you guys think are the most annoying things in Classic WoW? Like, to me, it's like, okay, the flight paths are unoptimized, but still some people are like, well, I enjoy having more AFK time. You could say things like world buffs. I would say maybe world buffs. I would say maybe world buffs for me. I hate getting world buffs every week. And I know that's going to piss off some classic Andys out there, but I hate it. Like when I played Kata, I loved raiding because I could just show up to raid every week with my consumables and have fun. When I played retail, I could just show up to my raid every week and have fun. Even in Season of Discovery, I can show up to my raid every week and have fun. The fact of the matter is, in Classic, having to go get world buffs every week makes me want to just not raid. It makes me want to just not raid. Like I don't know if that's just me, bro. I hate it. It's like, it's so annoying. I would 100% just be like, if I never had to get another world buff, sign me up.
As we know, World of Warcraft is now pretty old. Even Classic WoW was released nearly 6 years ago at this point, and if there's one thing that's pretty clear about the classic versions, is that it's not all nostalgia that made the re-releases popular. Classic WoW is one of the very few games that has stood the test of time. Even decades later, after the original release, it's still a great game to play. However, being so old does come with some flaws. So strap in, grab yourself a snack, and let's take a look at some of the most annoying things in classic World of Warcraft. Gathering professions are core skills within the game, great for supplying yourself with materials, making gold, and testing your patience. The amount of times you can fail attempts at skinning, herbing, and mining even while being at a suitable level can be pretty annoying. A few phases ago in Season of Discovery, I would farm Zul'Gurub crocs for bijous, coins, and skinning for rugged leather. It took me longer to skin all of the crocs than it did to do the entire run because of the sheer amount of fails even with the skinning enchant. And we've all been there where you found a herb in the open world only to fail the attempt 3 times and someone comes along and just snags it from in front of you.
Okay, I'm not really a gathering person. I usually like duel for gold or whatever. So when I first heard this, I'm like, well, whatever, dude. It's not that big of a deal. But I could see that being kind of annoying if you fail 3 in a row or something. And it's like, bro, even if no one takes it or kills you, but like failing 3 in a row when you're already the top level. Why do you guys put duel for gold in quotes, huh? What, duel for gold? And why is that in quotes? Guys, I duel for gold. That's how I make gold.
Now, let's talk about layering. I understand why layering is in the game and it's most probably a good thing as a whole, but it's still extremely annoying. Sometimes no matter what—
No way. He's just gonna be using a clip of me getting smoked in the back of a cave. Oh, this is embarrassing. Guys, we might need to skip this one. There's no way he's gonna use this clip.
What you do, you just can't get onto the layer where you need to be. And there's plenty of times where I've needed an enchant and the game just won't layer you. There's been plenty of times where I've been leveling and invited people to do quests and you've got to wait 10 minutes to get on the layer. An example with bad layering was in phase 2 of Season of Discovery during the Blood Moon events. It was common to get layered away from your party during the event due to the amount of people in one area. I personally think being able to choose your layer would be great, and if a layer is full then you just can't join that layer, but people can still choose to join your layer if your layer is free, and maybe put a small 5-minute cooldown on it to stop people from constantly layer hopping for herbs and such like that. This reminds me a little bit of how RuneScape was when I played that years ago. You would choose a world to join, which you could say is essentially the same thing as having a different layer in World of Warcraft, and at any point you could log out of your world and change to a different one. I really like—
I agree. I actually agree with that. Like layers are annoying. I honestly think the most annoying thing about a layering is that when you're on a dead layer and you know there's other layers with a bunch of people gaming and you're on a dead one by yourself and you're like, guys, can I get an invite to a layer that's not dead? Like I don't want to play the game by myself. So I actually kind of agree with this one too.
Trolls. Most people think they're ugly, and sure, they are trolls, they're supposed to be ugly, but man, it is so annoying that no matter what, your toes are always poking out. Dismounting out in the open world is one of the most annoying things. A prime example of this is those horrible ass bug caves that you find throughout the world. Passing by the entrances where you're 100% outdoors, and just because your horse even so breathes onto the edge of one of these, you get dismounted. Or what about the one that annoys me the most, which is the steps going into Xaryu? This one is just a gamble. Half of the time you fly up there no problems, the other half of the time you just get dismounted. The worst part about being dismounted here is that if your faction isn't currently in control of the entrance outside, you're probably going to end up dying and having to do a corpse run. Whereas if you're on a mount, you still stand a chance of making it in. If you play a class that can buff people, you would definitely have had this one done to you. You're in a dungeon or a raid buffing people up, and as you go to drink you realise you're in combat, because warriors using blood rage puts them in combat, which puts you in combat from buffing them. And then you just stand there like a lemon with no mana, unable to drink, and the tanks just go and pull. Pretty fun.
Oh wow, I've never experienced
Random
that.
disconnects.
That would suck.
And I'm not talking about because of your internet or even because of the game's server, but there's some places in the game that if you hit the right spot, you'll instantly disconnect. There is a ton of these spots around the world, but the one that always stuck with
This happened to someone in hardcore. I can't remember who it was, but I remember watching the clip. Was it Aya? I think it was Aya. She I don't, maybe it wasn't. But she was playing hardcore and got ported here on a disconnect and then logged in and died instantly. Maybe it was it Miss Rage? Yeah, I don't remember who it was, but yeah, it was unstucking. That's what it was. Unstuck, put him here, and then the guards just killed him. Oh, that's
spots
so rough.
around the world, but the one that always stuck with me was the tents inside the building where you would queue up for battlegrounds in Orgrimmar. Back in 2019 Classic, when I was ranking up my mage, often while waiting for a queue to pop, I would jump around these tents, and every so often you would just get randomly disconnected.
Yeah.
Let's now do a quick fire round of one annoying thing for each class. Paladins, auto attack into level 60 just to wear a dress. Warlocks, soul shard farming and shards not stacking. Warriors, parry parry miss dodge, parry parry miss dead. Mages. Druids, not being able to use potions while in form. Hunters, losing an entire bag slot to a quiver. Rogues, losing combo points when switching targets. This especially hurts when needing to kick another target. Shamans, yes I say shaman not shaman, it's my accent, deal with it. Having to set each totem one by one and not being able to recall them. And lastly, priests, never being able to power ward shield warriors because they generate no rage. There's a ton of other annoying things for each class as well, let me know which is the most annoying for you. Questing is one.
I feel like so far in this video I agreed with all these things. I feel like on those class ones, a lot of those things that are rough around the edges kind of make classic. The other ones are very true though, just random disconnects, that doesn't make classic, that just sucks, you know. But some of these things, it's you gotta, on a mage you have to know where to blink, and on a hunter you don't have as much bag space because the quivers, which you have to keep in mind, but that's because you're a hunter. I don't know, I guess they are annoying still though.
One of the best aspects to Classic WoW, but that being said, some quests are pretty annoying, especially some of the drop rate quests. Now don't get me wrong, I love questing and I don't mind some quests taking long or having lowish drop rates, but some are ridiculous. Like the one in Stranglethorn where you need to collect 25 necklaces from trolls and the drop rate is absolutely abysmal. There's another quest in Stranglethorn called Mock Thardins, I think, enchantment, where you need to find a pristine tigress fang, and oh boy, it's pristine alright with how bad that drop rate is. But I think it's okay when all you need is one, not 25 like the troll necklaces. While we're talking about the trolls in Stranglethorn, those Blood Scout boys are a nuisance if you're a melee class, because they constantly net you, run back a few yards and slowly whittle you down. Is there anything really more annoying than Murlocs? Okay, now this one isn't really the game's fault, but do you guys ever forget to press enter before typing to chat and instead just end up moving all around, opening all kinds of menus and burning cooldowns by
No, that's a personal problem, Deez. That's a personal problem, alright?
accident? Because every so often it happens to me. World buffs. Some people love them, some people hate them. And before chrono boons were introduced into the game, they were definitely a frustrating part of classic WoW. But regardless of chrono boons, there is still one world buff in particular that sucks to get sometimes, and that's the Dark Moon Fair buff. Half of the time, it's not a problem because it's in your faction zone, but when it's in the enemy faction zone, it becomes a nightmare to grab. On top of the fact that if you fail at getting away with the buff and die, you are put on a 4-hour in-game cooldown before you can receive another Dark Moon Fair buff. This part is the reason it's annoying. Not necessarily because it's hard to get in the enemy zones, but the fact that you get locked to a 4-hour in-game cooldown if you die with it. Now, we've all been there.
Bro, I just hate world buffs in general, man. I know the community is pretty split on this, and I don't know how the split actually looks. I don't know if it's like 50-50 or if I'm in the minority here, but like every single time I'm getting these things, I'm like, this is just so annoying. And you know why? Well, you know what's also annoying is, you know, like I can, like DMT, like, you know, it doesn't take that long, and Songflower doesn't take that long, and you can get them whenever, and that's kind of fine. What's annoying is when your server starts to die and there's less people raiding and you're trying to get an Onyxia buff and no one drops it until like a time that you're not online. Like for me, I go to bed pretty early. You know, we have a 1.5-year-old and it's like, all right, it's time to go to bed. This is fantastic. And the Onyxia head's dropping at like 10 p.m. or like 9 p.m. I'm like, brother, there's just no way. And then for other people, it's the opposite. Like you're on during the night and it drops at like 6 a.m. and you're like, brother, there's no way. And there's only one head that's coming out that week. And it's like, bro, I am like, this is ridiculous. Like this is ruining the game. So I don't know. Yeah. World buffs. No, thank you. I'm very anti, like not fun, not a fun experience for me. Straight up. That's why, that's one of the reasons I love SOD. Like not having to worry about world buffs makes the game playable for me. TBC, once again, yeah, no world buffs makes the game playable. That's probably my singular biggest complaint with Classic WoW is world buffs. Like, I just don't like getting them. And you need them, right? And because some people will say, well, just show up without world buffs. And it's like, well, your raid leader will probably make it so you can't roll in any loot then. And it's like, well, find a raid that can allow you to show up without world buffs. It's like, well, are there any? And it's like, okay, well, maybe I found one. Okay, I found a raid that allows me to show up without world buffs, but now you don't do any damage and the raid takes 4 hours. And it's like, they're kind of needed. If you, like, you don't need them, but you kind of need them. And that's kind of the position where it's at, right?
Inside a dungeon, raid, or maybe even a cave questing, you've got a hunter with you, who has about as much control over his pet as a British person next to a cup of tea. I don't know what it is with you hunters and those bloody pets, but some of your level 10 pet licenses need revoking. One of the most frustrating things about playing on the Alliance and doing PvP is the Orcs ratio called Hardiness, which gives the player a 25% chance to resist stuns. As a Paladin main, it feels like my Hammer of Justice just never hits Orcs. And one of the most frustrating things about playing on the Horde for PvP is having to wait an eternity to even get into a battleground. I usually play a mage on the Horde during classic versions of the game, and to be fair, even I get annoyed at the Paladin's talent eye for an eye, because when you get a fat crit, you take what feels like a third of your health bar in return. If you're a tank or a healer, you'll know all about logging into the game and instantly getting whispered. It's nice to be needed, but sometimes it can get a little annoying, especially if you just want to chill. Or what about being a mage and literally just being in a capital city? Hey man, hey, can I buy a portal to Ironforge? Like, brother, just hop on the flight path or deep run tram. The most annoying...
That's actually true. You know, honestly, when I'm AFK in a city and someone messages me for a portal, and you know, I actually don't mind it that much. You make 2 gold, you're in a city, they get their portal, you make gold, whatever. I feel like it's not that annoying. You know what is annoying? When you're out in the world, actively fighting, and someone goes, hey, can I have some mana gem, or not, like mana food, like food and water. And I'm like 30% mana. I have like 2 waters on me. And they're like, can I have 2 stacks of water? And I'm out in the world and I'm like mid PvP or like mid quest. And I'm thinking in my head, okay, I have 2 waters on me. I need to make myself a stack. First of all, because I'm already behind. It's going to take me 40 seconds to get the full mana because, you know, I'm thinking of like SOD or something where it's like, the water's out leveled, or like late game, late game, like the water's out leveled. So you drink 1 for 40 seconds, you're AFK. And then it's like, let me make 2 stacks for myself and then 2 stacks for this guy. and then I need to drink back up. This is going to take multiple minutes, and then you trade it to them, and then they're just like, thanks, and they don't tip, or they just walk away, or they do tip like 1 gold, and it's like, bro, this took... When you're out in the world asking for a mage for water, it's a very, very triggering experience, because it's like every time it's like many minutes, and then you maybe you're feeling really nice and you do it, and then 2 minutes later someone does the same thing, and then 2 minutes later someone does the same thing, and you're like, you know what, I'm just trying to play the game. All right, go to the darn vendor if you want some water. All right, we had to get that off my chest. And then they ask for int buff. Okay, yeah, that's another one. Int for mages costs like a 30 or mana bar. You know, when you're doing like a blessing on a pally or like a druid mark of the wild, yeah, it takes like 1% of your mana bar, 5%. So it's like, it doesn't really matter. Int on a mage is like a 30 or mana bar. It's like, oh, can you just int us up real quick? It's like, dude, what is this? Unbelievable.
The thing about Classic WoW as a whole for me though is that I'm a Ret Paladin main, and Ret Paladins aren't considered a viable raiding spec in Classic. This also isn't just annoying for Ret Paladins, but DPS Shamans, Shadow Priests, Boomkins, and a few other specs too. Of course you can always play what you want and in any way that you want, but it's not very fun being the lowest DPS and feeling like you're being carried and taking best in slot gear from specs that actually do way more damage. But you know what? I still wouldn't change it for Classic, and in general I still wouldn't change pretty much anything here for Classic WoW, because in a way that's what makes the game so good.
Yeah,
it's perfectly imperfect.
Yeah.
However, this is the reason I and many people want a constantly updated and fully budgeted Classic Plus. Because although I have played through Classic countless times and probably will continue to do so, it would be so cool to expand onto it with brand new dungeons, raids, zones, balancing, gear, art and gameplay, but all within the same Classic setting and style that we know and love. Karazhan Crypts and the Scarlet Enclave from Season of Discovery are both great examples of this in my opinion.
Very good.
But anyway, all of that could be for a different video. I just wanted to end it on a little bit of hopium there. Let me know what the most annoying thing is about Classic WoW for you. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video.
What I'm starting to realize about SOD, and I've said this a few times.
As we know,
I've said this a few times now, is like, it's not perfect. It has its annoying things. It's not the Classic Plus we wanted, but it's Classic in a Classic setting with new raids, new dungeons, class balancing. I'm still taking it all in, man. It's like, holy crap. I'm not taking it for granted one bit. It's like, dude, we literally have like a crappy version of Classic Plus right here, and we get to play it, and it's great. I'm like, let's go, man. I'm still loving SOD every day, man. It's like, yes, finally. The hope would be we get like a full Classic Plus at some point with, you know, even more raids, even more dungeons, some changes, but not too many. The world buff one you could definitely keep in. So we'll see what happens. Yeah.